welcome to another episode of the Doomloop Dispatch, the show that covers the worst parts, or at least the most disturbing parts of the San Francisco Bay Area. My name is Kevin L. Jones, and with me whenever possible is...
D. Scott Miller.
Yes, and today we are lucky. We are so excited she has time for us, to make time for us. It's returning guest, Kat Brooks, the... co-founder of the anti-police terror project, as well as the host of the Law and Disorder radio show on KPFA. I highly recommend everyone tune in for a great leftist take on what's going on in the world. And today we're actually so lucky to have her because today the ATPT is going to be at Oakland City Hall today, protesting the possible purchase $2 million in weapons for the Oakland Police Department, which is just insane. The last thing we need to do is give them, which looks like military style weapons, military level weapons, you know, machine guns and big tanks and stuff like that. So what else should people know about the OPD's request, Kat, and why should they be protesting?
I mean, the first thing I want to say is we're a city that has no budget. So we just went through a budget cycle where every single department, with the exception of the Oakland Police Department, had to make severe and serious cuts, right? So whether or not you believe what the data say, which is that investment in social services and quality neighborhoods and clean streets keeps us safer, right? Or actually keeps us safe versus more cops rolling through our neighborhoods. Whether you believe that or not, people want clean parks, tough. OPD has all your money. You want a solid summer program, which I think, I don't care what side of the aisle you are on, you know that summer programs, right, means less violence in the summer. Too bad. OPD has your money. They have all of our money, and yet we land on the top 10 most dangerous every year, right? And now the FBI says number 2. What do you do? What you want with the FBI and their data? So we have no money.
Yes.
And here they already get first they wanted $1.1 million, right? We just had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. I know we're going to get into that about for block cameras. Now they want money for militarized equipment. Well, the first thing that you should know, in addition to we don't have no money and where's that money going to come from, right? What else are they going to cut to get that money? But secondarily, what the data shows us is that the more militarized the police department is, the more violent they are. And I'm going to tell you why that concerns me. So when I started doing this work almost 20 years ago, right, OPD was one of the most murderous police departments in California. The people of Oakland beat that back, right? There was a movement that started here that spread across the country and has led to 17 sustained years of fighting against state violence. Now we've got this dude in the White House, right, who has promised police, not only will there be no consequences for what you do, you don't got to worry about these federal charges, right, actually encouraging police to go out there and do whatever they want to do. So we're already trying to figure out as organizers on this issue how to be on the offense of this issue because we know more violence is coming. Now you want to give them the weapons to help perpetuate that violence. Yvette Henderson, a 38-year-old mother and grandmother in 2015, allegedly stole some things out of Home Depot. Security helped the police chase her, and she was gunned down in front of what is now a storage unit on the border of the West Oakland and Emeryville cities. Our rapid response team was out there and discovered, and she was murdered within 7 seconds, that the bullet that killed her came from an AR-15 for shoplifting.
Jesus.
So that's a real life story, right? And 10 years later, I'm still working with that family. 10 years later, that family is still shattered because allegedly their mother/grandmother was shoplifting, which last time I checked, right, was not a death sentence in this country. So I know that was a very long answer, but it's really important to know there's a direct correlation between the types of equipment that cops ride around with, what that does to their already jacked up psyche about cops and robbers, right? And they're the good guys and we're the bad guys, and the kinds of violence that we see them execute.
Well, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah, exactly, D.
Yeah, especially and also too, so true about the police department sucking up all the budget, especially for overtime and that kind of thing. That is annual thing of them just needing more and more money, just keep feeding this beast, even though too we know that they're basically kind of manipulating the system to get as much money as they can. There's definitely been some bad cops who abuse the overtime system, but hopefully we can push back. You guys pushed back on buying the flock surveillance equipment, which was it 1.5 million? Was it, or let me see here. It was 1.1 million. Yes, and but that was the advisory committee. But still, you guys showed up. You let your voices be heard, and you got them to not recommend buying the equipment.
But we still got to go to council.
That's what I was going to ask. Now, how do you feel about the cancels? And could they change their mind on this?
Yes. So what Oaklanders need to know, and I know not everybody stays mired in the weeds of the drama that is Oakland's political scene, and I don't blame you because it drives me half nutter most days. But what you need to understand is that this is the most conservative center-right council that this city maybe has ever had, but certainly more center-right than a council we've had in the last 2 decades, right? And I'm talking about councils that had Ignacio de la Fuente on them. Mm-hmm. These folks are part of the Libby Schaaf, Lauren Taylor, Jerry Brown, right, who was going to break the back of the radical Black movement in Oakland and gentrify all of us out of here. They're moving an agenda, and it is a law and order agenda that, whether they know it or not, or they admit it or not, is lockstep with the law and order agenda of the Donald Trump administration. That is what is happening in Oakland, and it's hard for people to understand because it's Oakland, right? The birthplace of the Black Panther Party and so many other movements. But at this point, the folks that we have in elected office, right, do not care about and are not rooted in the values of Oakland. They think we can police and incarcerate our way out of every single issue, from the unhoused to people breaking, car windows, to you name it, right? They're like, lock them up, throw away the key, right? There's all this uproar around Councilmember Houston's homeless abatement plan, right, which will exacerbate the sweeps that already happened. So I say all that to set the context for, yes, they love the police. Mostly, with the exception of Councilmember Fife, right, who is the lone progressive on that council, period, full stop, end of sentence. Everybody else loves the police and believes the lie that more police keep us safe, and that what the police tell us is the truth. So we're really concerned, actually, that when this goes before council, they will reverse the recommendation.
Why do you think? How do you think this came to be, as far as like the political structure? Because, I think in a lot of ways we beat back in power Oakland in the last election. We got Barbara Lee in the mayor's seat. How did this right-wing infiltration, from your perspective, how do you think it began, and how are the people being fooled into to continue to go right-wing?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with the Empower Oakland, right? So I'm going to say humbly, right, because I'm talking even to myself, because as part of that, we didn't beat them back. We interrupted them. We interrupted a moving train. And if the left doesn't get itself together between now and the next mayoral, there's no guarantee that there's going to be a progressive in that seat, right? I'm not going to say Democrat, because Democrat, look at guys, that Democrats are not necessarily progressive. There's just no guarantee. And if we had been really doing our jobs, and whenever I say we are, I'm talking about me too, Lauren Taylor should have been within throwing distance, right? He shouldn't have been within a state distance of Barbara Lee. Like, there was a moment where a lot of us were very scared that we were going to be seeing Lauren sitting in that seat. So that should serve as a warning for what is possible when the next mayoral comes. In terms of how we got here, it's not just an Oakland story, it's a whole country story. But they worked on it really hard in Oakland because we are the vanguard, right? Across no matter where you go in the world, right? People hear Oakland, California, they think right on, radical politics, that's the movement, that's the left. And people follow our lead. I mentioned earlier, right? We are who kicked off 17 years of sustained pushback on state violence, starting in 2009 when the organic explosion to the murder of Officer Grant happened. We are also the birthplace of defund. Right when Celeste Guap came out and implicated OPD in the multiple law enforcement agencies that had exploited her, raped her, etc., we were doing an action outside the police department. One of my favorite actions ever. Actually, people, the cops were standing there as our folks were scaling their flagpoles, removing their flags and putting up a flag that said OPD or rapists. Bobby Hookfin, God bless him, he was very angry. They just stood there, couldn't do nothing, right? Because 2015 was a bad idea to engage the organizers. But anyway, at that point, I was angry, and I was standing there and I was smoking a cigarette with my then policy dude, James Birch. And I said, what the F are we paying them for? Well, James Birch, being the G that he is, that's when we started digging into the budget, right? And he brought back and says, we're paying them to do all of these things. They're eating up half of the city budget, and we don't have any of these services. And so defund, and I said to him, I said, fuck it. I said, I want half. There was no mathematical equation to half. It was just half. We want half. We want half, and we want that money redirected to things like, and the first demand was 24/7 mental health services. And we wanted money from the cities for us to build our own model of non-carceral response to community crisis. They didn't listen to us until the white people came and said, we don't think the police should be responding to to mental health crisis. Anywho, that was the birth of the defund movement. And for years, right, for 5 years, actually, people laughed us out of rooms, right? Out of progressive rooms, out of budget rooms, out of radical spaces. You're nuts. No one's gonna, what are you talking about? 2020. We're standing out there with the F your curfew. Second time we broke Libby's curfew. And all of a sudden people were shouting defund. See, that's what organizing will do, right? If you're organizing the unsexy stuff, the stuff that doesn't happen on camera. 8,000 people are shouting defund. The next thing you know, this thing has spread. I believe in collective consciousness too. Like I believe that ideas permeate the way the ancestors are supposed to. Next thing you know, the whole country is talking about defund. Defund is the largest shaking of the status quo that this country perhaps has ever seen around state violence, other than the upending of slavery, in theory. It was such a powerful shaking of the status quo that then presidential candidate Joe Biden had to say the words. Now, he said, don't defund, but he had to say the words. Our city council, they want you to have amnesia about this, voted unanimously to cut LPD's funding in half. You saw Minneapolis, whose city council, right, they got right out there and they was with it on the ballot to change the Oakland, their police department to a public safety department, right, that included community members. They lost, but they got 43% of the vote, which is the same amount that I got when I ran against Libby. That's a significant amount. That scared the out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? As it should have, right? Those that benefit from the way things are, which is not us. And then so we saw the state do what the state does. In the same way that they called the breakfast program the biggest threat to national security and demonized the Black Panther Party, and they were criminals and terrorists and all of this, right, to create a turning on them by the people. Defund became the boogeyman for crime. Now, here's the important part of what happened, right? So 2020, we saw the largest, global response to state violence ever in the history of ever. Thousands of people poured into the streets. That's great, but if you can't funnel that into actual movement building, right, it's political masturbation. But there were limited ways to do that. Why? Because we were in the middle of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, right? The beginning of COVID, where people were, we were watching the ticker. Some of us on CNN as our people were dying. So we were all inside, right? I'll use Oakland. So there was a group of us that as we were watching COVID come, 50 of us, we created this thing called the Black New Deal. And we went into city council and we said, listen, our communities are we're already living in dire, disastrous conditions. If you do not front load resources in here, things are going to get bad in ways that we can't even imagine, because people are going to get sick. People are going to die. People are going to lose their jobs. People don't have health insurance. Like, we listed off all of the reasons that people were going to be funneled into the underground economy. And whenever you've got lots of people funneled into the underground economy, all of the things explode. So I say all that to say, right, those think COVID in 2020 and defund, they collided. But the state, as much as we talk about that the right is stupid, they're not stupid. They managed to get that dude elected twice. Let's be clear. And that was done with strategy. That's not dumb luck. That's strategy. when crime went up, they needed a boogeyman. It couldn't be that you weren't providing the resources that the people needed and deserved during this time. So instead, they blamed it on something that never happened anywhere except for a little bit in Seattle. They said defund and people like me were responsible for the crime that was happening. Your car got broken into, it's Cat Brooks' fault.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody got killed in Deep East, it's Carol Fife's fault. Right? And this was happening in cities all over the country. That fear-mongering, that drumbeat, and that is colliding with people's real lived experience in the street. People were dying at higher rates for a little bit. People's cars were getting broken into. People's houses were, right, there were homes. Like all of that stuff was happening. But it wasn't happening because of defund. And it wasn't happening because we don't have enough police. It was happening because the state failed to do what its job and take care of its people. So that was the political narrative that they beat, like long before we were even in electoral season, though it got louder when Sheng Tao was elected as mayor. They beat that drum and they beat that drum and they beat that drum and they beat that drum. And so now we find ourselves in a place where our people, and this is really repetitive. You look back at the 80s and 90s, the crack cocaine epidemic, we're repeating the same thing, where our people sold their souls and our family members for the illusion of safety.
Yes. No, it was so insane where they kept blaming, the retail theft, crime ring, and everything else on defund. And it's like, no one's defunded. How is this? Like, where am I? Is this 1984? This is insane.
It's got more money every single budget cycle. They've gotten more money every single budget cycle. That's what's true. But Ron Armstrong went on Fox News and said that we had defunded the Oakland Police Department, which no lie, put a target on my back, on Carol Fife's back. Like, it became dangerous for us based on a political agenda that had nothing to do with the truth.
Yes, and I'm so sorry about that too. It's just so frustrating the how they're willing to just sacrifice, activists' lives for just
they're sacrificing the people's lives and safety because they too, they've read the data.
Mm-hmm.
They know that neighborhoods that have more resources have less crime. They know what they need to do. Nobody is ignorant to what they're doing, right? This is an intentional choice to maintain status quo and power and have cops walking around the city of Oakland make $650,000 a year. You show me a teacher that makes $650,000 a year. I got some property in Las Vegas, my hometown, to sell you.
Totally. Well, so you said though that this just kind of put Empower Oakland on hold, or at least like kind of push them to the side. How do you see them getting back on track? And
they've already started. But see, I'm a different person than I was a couple of years ago. So right now, it's just making me laugh. But if you look, Mr. Scott, right, he's at it again. So there's this article. So I think it was Monday morning. I woke up to some texts, one from Representative Simon, one from some other organizer. It was like, there's a hit piece. And I opened it up, and it's this publication. I didn't even know it existed. Some online rag, the San Francisco Inquirer.
Mm-hmm. And there's this. I looked into that. Go ahead. I got some.
There's this story that says, basically, I think the headline is like, progressives are going to turn on Latifah because she's not radical enough. And then they run through all the people that are going to run against her. And I am, this is a direct quote, suspect number one, Cat Brooks, the abolitionist avenger, which, thank you guys, because now that's my Halloween costume. I'm having an abolitionist avenger costume made. I'm going to take pictures of it. Before that, I saw that they came for Courage, Communities United for Restorative Youth Justice, and my brother from another mother, George Galavis. The dude that runs Oakland Crime Shorts, Carlos Danger, is the name he has. Again, I'm saying names. I'm saying names because we've been too polite.
Yes.
He asked me to collaborate on two, like he sends me these things to collaborate on two posts, right? One is the interview I did about CHP getting, some of them getting out of here. Thank you, goodbye. And the other one was about what we started talking about, me talking about how militarized police departments make us less safe, and was like, why is Cat lying to the people? So I say all that to say was a strategy last time. They started because people get their news and the reality from social media. And I don't know how we combat that. I haven't figured that out yet. And so they've started. It's begun.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to ramp it up, right? And they're going to blame Barbara Lee for things that she could not possibly fix in 6 months. I don't know how they're going to blame the cabinet. Just all they can blame is Carol. I guess Carol is going to have all the power in the world, right? And then they're going to do this fear. They're going to do this fear thing, and crime has gone down. It's been trending down before Barbara Lee, before Floyd Mitchell. Crime was trending down, right? But the narrative, what you hear and what you see and what you choose to believe shapes your reality. And the left had better get its shit together.
Yes. Yeah. Especially they keep doing that whole thing of the, well, I'm sure it says crime is down, but it doesn't feel it. Do you feel that crime is down? And of course, Seneca Scott is involved too. When will that guy go away?
Well, yeah, that's the thing about the San Francisco Inquirer. The San Francisco Inquirer got busted by the Chronicle, I think 2 years ago. By the Chronicle actually said this is a fake newspaper putting out fake information. And they did a pretty deep dig on it. And they found that the owner of the paper, quote unquote paper, is a private equity investor coming out of, I think, Alameda. So I mean, like, to me, I mean, I'm constantly, I mean, once you look at it, you can see that it's fake. And you can also see that throughout the article, they talk to an insider. They talk to a former canvasser. They never mention any names. They just say, okay, well, so a friend of Cat Brooks said, a follower of APTP said, but they never really give any names. And there's no name as far as the author or the journalist, quote unquote journalist, who wrote the thing. So we know who it is. But my question is that what do you think their end game is? I mean, is it to get Taylor reelected? Is it to recall somebody? I mean, right now it just seems like a bunch of disparate, like, just bitching, like, you know. But what do you think the end goal is? I mean, is it to recall Barbara Lee? Is it to put in? I mean, like, I just saw this thing, the Black Action Alliance. Okay, the Black Action Alliance just 4 hours ago called for Armstrong to be reinstated.
I was waiting for that. I knew that was coming. The time Mitchell said he was gone, I was like, oh, here we go.
So I mean, because you're so like, you know, you have historic reference that I don't really have. What do you think their end goal is here? Because right now it just seems like they're just attacking people. Like, and it's not like an election is on the way. It's not like the midterms are coming. I mean, what exactly do you think? What do you think they want right now?
Well, it's not what they want right now. It's what they're building towards, right? What they want is control of the city. What they want is people like me to go away. What they want is to crush the progressive left, particularly the Black-led progressive left. I mean, there's even narrative out there that there's no Black leadership in Oakland, right? No, there's no Black progressive leadership in Oakland, right? That we just don't exist. And just for folks that have been, you know, paying attention or whatever, but there's so much other stuff going on, people forget. This is how this last round started. This is how this started. Was that dude, Mr. Scott, talking mess? And people were like, oh, don't pay attention. Oh, don't pay. And I for a minute, I didn't even know who dude was. And it wasn't until, but apparently he knew who I was. But it wasn't until someone actually pointed, he was like, why is this man attacking you? I said, ooh. And they said, this guy, Seneca Scott, who's running for mayor. And he was so good that the white folks started thinking, well, yeah, we're going to support him because our white guilt tells us that's what we're supposed to do. And we had to do a whole campaign to crush that, which is part of why he's mad at me, because we're like, this is just not happening, right? So I think they're building towards that. But see, what makes them more dangerous now than however many years ago that was, right? When he was running for mayor and they started this message, now they're funded. Now they got billionaire dollars, and I wish I could remember the name of the organization in Oakland who's tracked all of this. But there's an org that's actually tracked the money to the candidates, to the lies that are told in the media. They're building up to the next mayoral election, but they're starting now because, again, they are strategic and they are tactical. And I wouldn't call Seneca an organizer. He's not. He's a mouthpiece. He's a funded mouthpiece that says a bunch of stupid stuff, right? That's supposed to get people like me angry, and then I'm supposed to be distracted, right? We got to get about the business of organizing. But that's what they're building towards. They're building towards the mayoral, right? And that will be the coup. That will be the coup. They get somebody in that mayoral seat. We are done.
Yes. But thankfully you got, your efforts to fight back have worked. I also want to talk about the homeless policy, the homeless encampment policy that they wanted to push through that you guys fought back on. Thank you for that. But what's so interesting too is the story came out about how they had violated the Brown Act too by talking about the policy as well. And it's so surprising too. I mean, for one, why were they busted? I have to wonder about Richardson and why he's like upping the Brown Act violations.
Yeah, because that was really weird because I mean, like, nobody was at fault, and yet at the same time, because we're both working from a piece of Dornbach Graham wrote for Oakland side, and so nobody was at fault, and yet everybody was at fault in that piece. And so it was really hard to determine exactly. I mean, of course, there's some fuckery going on there, but we couldn't really put our finger on exactly what the procedural. There was so much cover that we couldn't uncover it. Like we both read it, we both talked about it, and we're like, what's really going on though? Because even Darwin couldn't exactly give us like a full through line. So maybe you can you explain to us how that violation happened and what exactly were they trying to cover up?
Right. So the first thing that I just want to say is I was standing with my comms and policy guy Lance Wilson in those chambers, and I was listening to things that they were saying, and by the way that they were engaging the public, arguing with the public. They're not supposed to do that. They're not supposed to argue with the people, right? They can set order, but you're not supposed to. So I kept saying, I said, they violated the Brown Act, man. I'm telling you, the Brown Act violation is written all over. And I said, then watch. But I never, right? And then I went on about my business. And then that article came out. Lance texted me. I was like, I said, what I tell you? It was too many of them in a room trying to pass a policy. That there's too many offices in one room. Ken, right?
Ken Houston.
Maybe Ken Houston gets a pass. He let me stop because I'm about to say something silly. he just got here. I mean, those of you who've been following Oakland politics for a while know why I'm
Yes.
Anyway, Ken just got here. Maybe he really didn't know. Jenkins knew. Mm-hmm. And his staffer, Patricia
Brooks.
I'm not happy to say. She definitely knew. And she used to work for on the board of supervisors, the real Nate conservative. Nate Miley.
Yeah, Nate Miley. That's what I thought you were talking about.
She used to work for Nate Miley, and every year Nate and I used to get on the phone together. He'd say all the things he was going to do to try to bring more law and order, and I'd say all the things I was going to try to do to stop him. Say, great talking to you, right? And we go on about our business. I don't know why we did that for so many years, but we did until the last one where I was just like, this is ridiculous, and I endorsed someone who ran against him, so he don't talk to me no more. But they knew what they were doing, but the point of that, right, is to get you, like when you're doing that behind closed, is to get your strategy together. To anticipate. They knew it was going to be pushed back. There's no way they didn't know it was going to be pushed. Get your strategy together. So it's like you're working together without working together, right? And so you can come push the line. And Kevin went like this. I ain't nothing to do. You're going to tell me your staff? That'd be like me saying, I don't know what my organizers are out there doing. I had no idea that she was. Come on, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what do you think? But why do you think that they did that though? I mean, because like it clearly was going to come out in the public. It was clearly going to be.
They thought they would get caught, D. I don't think they thought they were going to get caught. I think they were just moving, and I think that if they did get caught, that they would do exactly what they've done, and feigned. I don't know. Now there are more ethics violation stuff moving right now, I think, than I've seen in a really long time, and I'm not sure what that's about. I imagine there are tensions inside of City Hall. Mm-hmm. It's not just the radicals that are unhappy with the composition of city council, right? Like you don't even fashion yourself maybe politically a radical, but most people are sitting in that building and have been there for a long time, fancy themselves to be liberals, at least, So
mm-hmm. Yes. And yeah, you're even seeing that too with the Trump administration and on the federal level, where even like Republican appointed judges are going like, no, this is just wrong. Like, this is just insane. Like, people are definitely getting pushed to the edge, But yeah, but I'm so glad still you succeeded in stopping that policy. The Oakland homeless issue is just terrible, and it's not getting in.
Stopped it.
Oh, really?
No, we haven't stopped it, and it's not, right now. I want to be really clear. Me, APT, we are a small cog in a big wheel, right? I got to shout out Love and Justice in the Streets. I got to shout out the folks from Wood Street Commons, who I wish we would just listen to because they actually have the solution to their own problem. Like all this could be resolved and we would just do what they say. So I want to just be real clear, right? That this is not a APTP Brooks thing. We're just allies, right, in solidarity. I think that enough contradictions were raised, and there were things about like we would lose funding here, and things that maybe weren't, violations of there was a bunch of stuff that they had to pull it back and make some amendments. But that's coming back. It's coming back, and you've got a governor that has told cities, if you don't clean up your street, I'm not giving you no money, while he's pretending to be the antidote to Donald Trump.
Yep.
Put that out there.
The worst. Seeing those press photos of him throwing away the homeless belongings and stuff is just so disgusting. But also, I mean, just look at him too. I mean, another thing too I was going to bring up is your organization's been involved with the Oakland airport arms embargo against the Gaza genocide, and it seems like political opinion is definitely going on the right side of history. I mean, even Democrats, even Republicans are all coming to the side that this is a genocide. But at the same time, too, you just had Newsom sign that terrible anti-Semitism bill for schools. Yes. And it's like, so from your view, especially you've been doing this for years, how are you feeling about that debate? Do you feel like the movement is really making a difference, and maybe you could have hope? Or when you see the people in power still kowtowing to the Zionist forces, does it make you feel hopeless?
So again, I want to be really clear, right, that I'm an accomplice. I'm not leadership on this issue. Very early on, when APT, 2010, the dots were connected. When we were in the streets around Oscar Grant, it was around the time of the Arab Spring. And there were folks in the Middle East and Egypt that had signs that said, "I am Oscar Grant." People made a big to-do about, and they should have, right, about like in Ferguson, where the Palestinian organizers got word to them of how to deal with the tear gas. They did that here in Oakland in 2009. My Palestinian relative, I'm sorry, we're at the 2-year anniversary. And so every time we talk, it's like an emotional right now. My Palestinian comrades have been in the streets screaming Black Lives Matter for as long, before Black Lives Matter was Black Lives Matter, right? They were in them streets demanding accountability. And a long time ago, we connected the dots that the IDF trains the Oakland Police Department, the IDF trains the San Francisco Police Department, the IDF, right? Like, and bring it to current day, the surveillance tactics that they're using in our communities right now to track immigrants come from Gaza. And so if you want to see where we're headed, right, pay attention to Gaza. Mm-hmm. To steal D's word, it is bipartisan fuckery that has gotten us to where we are. And it's decades of it, not just 2 years. Though in the last 2 years, we've seen one of the most egregious exhibits of man's inhumanity to man. There are upwards of 90,000 dead Palestinians. And now when I do a Palestine Post on Law and Disorder every Monday, when I do the casualty updates, I have to include the people, the men, women, and children, the elders that have died of starvation, not bombs, but literally starved to death. So we're in this moment now, right, where for whatever reason, and the folks that are leadership, right, my Palestinian comrades, right, they don't care what the reason is this moment, what they need, right, for the Donald Trump's 20-point plan. I will not call it a peace plan. I refuse. Offering a reprieve, right? We just need the bombing to stop. Mm-hmm. Just need aid to get into Palestine. So on one hand, right, I can sit here not having bombs dropped on me and be able to walk out of this room and put food in my belly and say, man, fuck that plan and fuck Gavin Newsom. It's too little. It's too late. All y'all recognizing Palestine as a state now, 80,000 dead Palestinians ago is when that should have happened. Mm-hmm. Right now, you're being performative, right? Because now, right, we've reached a point where you know what's going to be written about you. But I think what's weighing heavier in this moment, right? And so clearly Gavin is tone deaf to actually answer your question, right? Like read the room, dude.
Yep.
But he's getting ready to run for president, and that AIPAC money is real. It is real. AIPAC owns your Congress, y'all. AIPAC owns your Washington. Be clear.
I mean, that's the other thing that I think is ridiculous. I mean, we all know that Gavin Newsom is running for president, and he's going to need that MAGA. He's going to need that AIPAC. He's going to need that MAGA. So, I mean, I think, like, to me, it seems silly to me that we even. I mean, right now, I'm okay using him as a useful idiot in order to put forth, like, you know, a counter narrative against Trump's narrative. I mean, and I'm totally fine with that. But as far as what kind of positive ambition can you expect from a man who's going to be trying to appease the right and the left in a matter of months? Like, you can't, like how do you expect this guy to actually represent?
Yeah, he's already trying to appease both. That stupid podcast he has.
Yeah.
The attacks on trans folks, the attacks on the I mean, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, so I mean, the whole thing is, I'm so disappointed in Gavin Newsom. My question is why? Why are you disappointed in him? I mean, this is like, maybe it's the same thing that we had with like Trump in New York. Maybe you had to be in the Bay Area and have this guy as your mayor. And before it, maybe that was a part of it, because, like, you know what I mean? Because I saw the performative weddings back in the day. You know what I mean? Like. So don't be disappointed. The guy been a flip flop or two-face like since forever. So I mean, I'm just like, I mean, to me, I mean, like, you know, I don't have expectations that he's going to really be. He's not going to try to serve the progressive left in particular. He's just not going to. And we're lucky if he just remains moderate. We'll be lucky. You know, so. I mean, I just want to get that in there because everybody tries to talk about this guy one way. We all know he's another way. So
yes,
and we're having, to your point, D, we're having, and we can, right, walk and chew gum at the same time. Right on, yeah, do what you're doing with Trump, but dude, I'm clear on who and what you are. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then the other thing we wanted to talk about is we just did this thing about CHP working with ICE to infiltrate our courthouses in order to make detentions. I'm fairly certain that's happening because I've actually been doing some cop watching on my own around the lake. I document when CHP pulls people off the highway, and then pretty much disappears them. I've seen them do it successfully once, and I've actually thwarted them about 3 or 4 times over the past couple of months. So do you think what do you think ICE's intent? What do you think ICE's intentions are for Oakland? What do you think, like, you know, as far as, like, I know that we have sanctuary city status and we're not like San Francisco where people are just pretty much forgetting that they have it. Lori's looking the other way about it, acting like it didn't exist. But it seems to me that we're kind of holding the line. And that's the reason why CHP has to come in instead of ICE. So, I mean, what are you hearing on the ground as far as that's concerned?
So I haven't heard about collaboration between those two agencies, but I'm not surprised. California, I've been screaming up and down about CHP for over a decade, right? To the 7th most deadly law enforcement agency in the country. They're not accountable to anybody, really, right? They're hired guns rolling through our neighborhoods and our streets. And we saw when Gavin flooded our communities with them, we saw an uptick in racial profiling of Black people going to jail, whether it was warranted or not. That is what they accomplished. So I think it's interesting, right? And this is somewhat a push and pull I'm having with some of my comrades on the ground. They're like, oh, they're coming to Oakland, When you want to establish dominance on the yard or in a neighborhood, right? Well, neighborhoods that I grew up in, right? You sock either literally or figuratively, the biggest motherfucker in the mouth. That's what you do, right? But you're praying as you're doing that he stays down. Because if he gets up and beats your ass, you're through. And so I personally think Chicago is testing ground, because that's our sister city, testing ground for Oakland, right? And I think they're like, hold on, because they've been disappearing people in Oakland since January, but to do it, to your point, they're doing it quietly. Right? People don't even know that we've been really screaming loud about the Black immigrant community because they're being disappeared from this conversation. But eight Ethiopian, I don't want to get into it, it's either Ethiopian or Eritrean folks were kidnapped, right? So I think they're going to be quiet for a minute. They're going to keep plucking people up. I think that we do need to, we need 24/7 surveillance on our court, on the courthouses, right? So we can push back. But I mean, I could be wrong, and I'll come back on the show and say I was wrong. I don't think we're going to, and it might not be ICE when they come, but I don't think it's right around the corner. Actually, I think there's some other cities that they're going to go try to figure out exactly what the model is. So if you look at it, it's different in the places, right? So in Chicago, yeah, it's ICE. DC, right? It's all the federal agents. Portland, it's other federal, like there is different strategies in these different cities. And one of the mistakes that the left is making is like, oh, we can have one strategy to respond to all scenarios. Nope. And so what I'm doing as an organizer is I'm watching what's playing out so that we can accurately and adequately devise different strategies for different scenarios and be as much of one accord as Oakland can get on as we resist. So I think, Dee, again, it's a long-winded answer to your question. I think they're going to stay quiet from there, just keep plucking folks so they can keep them numbers up, right? But I don't think we're going to see a mass invasion for a minute. First of all, Barbara Lee ain't Lurie, right? And while them powers, halls of power ain't going to save us, she's not Lurie, and she's not going to look the other way, and she's going to, and what you going to do? Go snatch up that little black woman? I mean, like, they're strategic, they're smart, right? So they're gonna come, but they're gonna come different here.
Yes. And actually, earlier this week, they actually picked up somebody in Concord. So almost like they're kind of just on the edges of it, and doing what they can. And Concord, too, an immigrant community that we've covered who tried to get rent control and was shot down. So, man, this has been an amazing conversation. I know we're super busy today. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, especially, the important protest at City Hall. Please keep following the anti-police terror project on Instagram. There's such great information on there, especially for protest. If you feel helpless, get involved and do something. Even just being there, showing your support and helping the good guys is going to make you feel better. Is there anything else you want people to share other than following Law and Disorder on KPFA?
Follow Law and Disorder on KPFA. If you're doing organizing or artistic events that are about resistance in this moment, please email me, kat@kpfa.org, so we can uplift the information. That's what that platform is there for. Yes, follow APTP on all the socials. And I mean, Kevin, you really said it the way I usually close out, right? And usually what I say is, listen, the time for QT activism is over. You don't get to go to a protest, take a picture of you, right, standing next to the FTP sign, and then go home and post it on Facebook and say, I did something. It's all hands on deck, and it's all roads in. So you may not want to be on 14th and Broadway with me eating tear gas. I don't blame you. It don't taste good. But we need cooks. We need people to write the press releases. We need people to take care of the babies. We need people to plant the seeds. We need people that are engineers that when they cut off our power as a way to stop us from resisting, understand how we get electricity. When they stop our water from flowing, we need people that know how to get the water running again, right? We need street medics. We need people to faint, right? Like, so figure out what makes your heart sing, right? Because we do this work not because we hate them. We do this work because we love us. So figure out what makes your heart sing. Find an organization, right? And if you can't find an organization out of the 9 bazillion lefty organizations in the Bay Area, start one, right? But get in the business.
That's it.
Right on. All right. And also follow us on all the socials. Please support our Patreon. We $1 a month goes a long way for us. And I mean, seriously, it's support this so we can give people like Kat another platform to get her amazing voice out there and all the great information she's filled with. So again, we really appreciate you. People don't understand how busy Kat is and how awesome it was she could make the time to do this. So we really appreciate it. Yeah, totally. Until next time.
All right, stay safe, be easy, huh?
Yeah, keep fighting the good fight.
I ain't got no choice.
That's real.